What the fuck is good, guys? It is Melathon, the Time God. This is the Time God cast. And once again, you are tuning in to Battle Raps podcast. Not even Battle Raps podcast. I don't know why I just said that. I'm just talking. I'm just talking, man. I'm high. I smoked a nice little couple bowls. I got a bowl right here packed that I'm about to smoke. I'm just getting my mind right, man. I probably shouldn't even be saying this. I'm ranting by myself. Got my little earpiece in. I got my little podcast app. So this might sound a little bit different than the actual podcast. I don't know how exactly it's going to sound, but right now I'm just working with what I have. So this is an intro. I'm going to be doing this for my podcasts just to kind of fill in the listeners to what it is you guys are about to hear. So it's not, sometimes it takes place in certain places that I want you guys to know about that we probably don't talk about on the podcast. So this is my chance to kind of let you guys know what's going on. Um, Okay, so my guest today is Poison Pen and Immortal Technique. You guys might know who Poison Pen is from hip hop, obviously, being on Immortal Technique's album, obviously. Rest in peace to PH, fucking around with Pumpkinhead. You might have seen him on there. Victor Vaughn, who was MF Doom, he was on his album. So Poison Pen has a lot of credited things that I'm not even talking about here. We get into it on the podcast a little bit. So we have Poison Pen and Immortal Technique. You might know who Immortal Technique is from the Revolutionary Volume 1, Revolutionary Volume 2, with a lot of, politically driven hip hop, a lot of truth filled hip hop. Got me through my high school years, and, however old any of you guys are, it probably got you through a certain time in your life. And, Immortal Technique is a very, he's independent. They both independent. He's very successful doing humongous tours all around the world. Um, so okay, so let me jump right into the backstory of this thing. So uh, me and Concept from Wake the Flock Up, I was co-hosting with him at a festival, and the festival was Immortal Technique was headlining, or I think Immortal Technique was headlining, and then it was Sick Jack in from Psycho Realm, and then it was fuck, I'm drawing a blank. I know Akil because I remember interviewing Akil from Jurassic 5. So I know Jurassic 5 I think performed that night. Um fuck man, I'm trying to remember who else. There were so many people performing that night. A lot of big Necro performed that night. So we went to this festival to go interview Immortal Technique. And Immortal Technique was went on a ride, not on a ride, but he's on tour, so he's driving around a lot. Gets there, he's tired. So Concept had set up an interview with Immortal Technique, and we go in there, and Immortal Technique wants to do like 5-10 minutes because he's trying to relax before a show. So he kind of cuts the interview short. But amongst this whole time, Poison Pen's there, and me and Poison Pen, I know him through battle rap, through Grind Time, King of the Dot. Which when you hear this podcast, you're gonna hear about everything. And if you're not familiar with Grind Time, it was a battle league, which is a rap battle league, which is acapella format, no beats. You got a host, and people write for a couple months prior to battle each other. So Poison Pen was hosting and running the New York division of Grind Time back in the day, and he's also was a main figure in battle rap period, and he was a main figure in helping run like the Boston Massacre for King of the Dot with Nakaya, and so he's a big figure. So uh, I know him through a long time. So we're talking, chopping it up. He invites me up into Mortal Techniques, green room. Not to drop what was going on, but it's all for the story. So I'm up there, we're hanging out, and then throughout all this thing, I asked him, I was like, "Yo, bro, I have this podcast that I'm starting up, the Time GAWDCAST. It's not out yet, but it's going to be. Can I get a podcast with you?" He's like, "Hell yeah, bro." I said, "You have a story that I think a lot of people should know about in battle rap that you know that hasn't been, not that it hasn't been told, but I want to put it out to who I want to know about. Not I'm saying this totally wrong. I just feel that I want to be able to get stories from people and just talk about certain things that are not. You can't just Google it and bring up why Grind Time collapsed through the eyes of somebody who worked there. I mean, there probably is things like that, but to my knowledge, I haven't heard a podcast about it. So I wanted to talk to Poison Pen about it. I talked to Poison Pen about a bunch of different things, but that was one of the main things. So I was like, "Yo, let's get this podcast." He said, "Yes, let's do it." So we schedule it for a Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday. I don't know why I said Tuesday. Maybe it was because I was listening to the Drake and McConan song or something. I don't know. Which I wasn't. I don't know why I said that. I'm relaxing. It is Christmas right now, which is a holiday that I know Santa Claus and all that shit is all bullshit. But you know, the family still celebrates it. It's time where I get to see my family who isn't around. So you know, it's a good time, man. So I'm right here posted in the garage. I don't know why I'm ranting about that. So, okay. So, we set it up for a Tuesday. Oh, that's what it was, a Tuesday. Okay, so we set it up for like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, or it was a weekday before they went back to, I say they because it's Immortal Technique and Poison Pen, which I didn't know about. I just thought Poison Pen was still out here. Come to find out, Immortal Technique was out here still, and you know, we scheduled this podcast. They're staying at an Airbnb in LA somewhere. So I show up, and right as soon as I get to the door, first person walking out is Immortal Technique. So I'm like, oh shit, Tech's still out here. He's kicking it. Okay, well let's go upstairs and do this podcast. So I go upstairs. Poison Pen's right there. We start doing the podcast, and in the midst of the podcast, you know, 5 minutes in, Immortal Technique walks in and just, you know, hops on the podcast too, which was a big blessing because I did not think we would get Immortal Technique. So with that being said, you know, there was a lot of questions. Because Koncpet was with me that day too. So Koncpet wanted to ask. So I was like, well, fuck it. Let's you know, I'm gonna ask Poison Pen, you ask Koncpet, but we'll just merge the conversation. So you're basically getting two podcasts in a one, combined into one beautiful conversation, which is me, Koncpet from Wake the Flock Up, Immortal Technique, Poison Pen, and and another thing too is you know, I don't know if Poison didn't know that we were recording the podcast or whatever, but the mic, I don't know if the mic wasn't up to his face right or whatever the case may be. So sometimes Poison Pen's vocals go a little up and down. He's really far from the mic sometimes. So I'm trying to remember what was going on when this was happening. But we were all just kind of relaxing, talking. So yeah, you know, we did what we could, but just, you know, bear with us on that one and turn it up if you need to, whatever the case may be. But it is a great podcast. A lot of good information was on here. A lot of good conversation. Thank you to Poison Pen and Immortal Technique for allowing this podcast to go down. So everybody, without further ado, give it up for Poison Pen and Immortal Technique.
Oh yeah, and this guy
too.
Meltdown,
the fucking time god up in this bitch. Want to get in fucking King of the Dodgy? Yeah! Time!
Just don't say time. Yeah, just don't we got a time limit, but just don't say time. You heard it? Don't say time.
What's good? It is Meltdown. We're right here on the Meltdown Time GAWDCAST. I'm right here with my boy Koncpet from the Wake the Flock Up.
And we're going to go directly into the question because it was too good not to follow through.
Who do we have on here first?
So we're getting in with the legendary Poison Pen.
Poison Pen.
It's you know, who we met at Back to Basics. We caught up, and there's a lot we're going to go into it. But the question was this:
jump right into it.
Pen goes like, yeah, this. I'm like, you stay here? He's like, no, there's an Airbnb, and I'm like, damn, this is fucking nice for Airbnb. I'm like, okay, and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, but wait, Pen, don't you feel? Don't you feel guilty fucking in somebody else's house, bro?
Feel weird.
And weird? Don't you feel guilty and weird you fucking in somebody else's house?
That was just the answer. That was the answer.
Yeah, she said, man.
Like, there's nothing else need to be said. Like, yeah. Please, first of all,
yeah.
I'm just happy that I'm out here still, you know, getting it how I get it. You know what I'm saying? Having the fun that I have. I've had a lot more fun than the average bear. You know what I'm saying? But dude, first of all, what I do for a living, we travel, we do shows or other events. Like I'm in someone else's bed more than I'm in my own bed. So true. That question, I give no fucks about that. Listen, if I'm renting this place for set period of time, I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want.
True.
While it's mine.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, anything short of a freaking of a murder spree, I mean, I should be able to do that shit and just pay the cleaning fees and be able to move.
Oh yeah, dude, what's it take?
That's good about Airbnb though. You can just go, like you said, you can do that shit in anywhere, any state, anybody's house. So I mean,
yeah, if you got a little money, you can impress honeys like that. But like, yeah, I got a dope spot. Yeah, you know, you just rent it on the weekends. You tell them it's yours. Take them to a nice spot. Like, oh wow, like
you can definitely stunt. Yeah, you can definitely stunt. Like it's wild simple, man.
That's what's up.
If you, dude, it's you go. I recommend it, man. I mean,
okay, we got
it. I'm not gonna lie. Like this particular place right here has a few issues that we need to speak about, and Airbnb is gonna have to rectify the situation.
Here you go, Tech.
Reimburse me some bread, but you know, normally it's a good thing, man. You know, and a lot of people, you know, you don't like to travel and feel like me. I don't like staying in hotels if I don't have to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, it's being in a home and being at a hotel. You know, it's a different feel. Sometimes you like to feel like, you know, you're in a regular environment. And a lot of times, life that we lead, you know, you need something that seems regular sometimes.
Do you see that happening for yourself though? Like house, steady life, and the marriage and the kids and all.
That'd be awesome. I mean, I'm old, so that would be dope.
Right. So there is a day where you envision yourself, the husband with the house, owning a mortgage and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. No question. Come on, man. I mean, rap life is rap life, and it's a part of my real life. I mean, it is my life, honestly, but at the same time, there's a separation between like the artist persona all day and just a regular human being and shit.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, it's not too far fetched,
right?
You know, it's still two different things.
Yeah, no doubt.
And of course, man. Like, who doesn't want stability and, you know, and just routine sometimes? You feel me?
For having a sound.
Okay, yo, what the fuck am I on right now? Yo, this nigga he ain't telling me shit, yo. I just see niggas with a KOTD hat and another shit. Whose podcast am I on, nigga?
True. Oh, that's a good point.
You know, it's real. A lot of people come to Penn to try to get to me. You're absolutely right, nigga, because they'll tell me, yo, what do you want to do today? And I'm like, yo, I have a dinner later on tonight with a place. Hopefully we can schedule this tonight or tomorrow. Place called Casa Libre. Me and Penn are going to do a benefit show for them. They're a place that is an orphanage actually for undocumented immigrants. So imagine being a kid with no parents, but you have that hatred on top of you from the system here. So he told me I'm doing a podcast. What podcast do we do? What is the podcast?
Well, this is my show. I work for King of the Dot. I book battles for them, do all that. So that's how I know Penn. Knowing him from doing that.
Right, so what's the name of the podcast?
The Time GAWDCAST. But I'm with Wake the Flock Up, which is
the Time God.
Yeah. The Time God.
All right. So we had the Time God podcast.
By Wake the Flock Up, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, Wake
Immortal Technique.
Wake the Flock Up,
the Poison Pen.
That's right. That's what's up.
We on it. We out here.
But that one thing that I always wanted to ask you, Tech, in particular, was not being the superstar of some names, right? But starting so early to give back. Like, why did you start doing that? Like, you didn't have to. No one would blame you, you know? Okay. Oh, he's building this, he's doing this. Like, if you didn't, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't trip. But the fact that you are, like, why?
Well, I mean, I think that very early in my career, I realized that just making music about something is one thing.
Right.
And then actually standing for it is a complete difference. We grew up in the golden era where people were super lyrical and super conscious. But a lot of times that consciousness didn't really produce into any results, didn't produce any community centers, didn't produce anything that was there. And if it did, it was something that wasn't respected or highlighted by the culture of hip hop, which it totally should have been. And we fell into that sort of drug era logic of assuming that people who make it through prison should be put on a pedestal as opposed to people who make it through college. They should both be on a pedestal because one of them endured a horrific hardship and the other one put himself through, you know, a scholarly discipline. But the difference is that we have to examine the reason behind why each one of them was there. Some people say, oh, there are things by design. Well, you know, there's a design behind there being a majority of certain demographics of people behind bars. So these aren't numbers that I'm pulling out of nowhere. These are things that are actually real and true that I'm living in life. So I thought to myself, man, I can make music about it. That's one thing. But for people to actually take me seriously, right? I thought, no, I have to actually put some of myself into it. Right. And then I thought, not just put myself into it, but then you break down kind of the fourth wall, right? Which is what we did with Dance with the Devil. That's what everybody knew. The first song most people know me from. Right. And what's that song all about? Saying, hey, and I was there too. And now I'm talking to you. Right, boom. All of a sudden now I had all these walls. Now we have no walls, nigga. Right. So take the same logic where people meet you. And then they say, okay, well, here, great rapper, great artist, cool guy. Oh, now I get to meet him in person. Oh, well, wait, what about this wall? Okay, well, now he's actually doing something and doing something about it. But that's not the last wall. That's just the third wall. The fourth wall where we all knock it down is we say, oh, Technique, you did all this stuff in Afghanistan. Like, what was that over? Why didn't you do it in Harlem? Why didn't you do it in LA? And I said, well, look, if I was able to succeed in a place like that where I didn't know anything about building orphanages or building schools, and I was working with a coalition of all women from Afghanistan, I should mention also, and working with other people that we put it together, then if I can do that and succeed there in a country I'm not from, in a language I don't speak, with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda all around me and the people trying to survive on their own, then what's the excuse for you not to be able to do this in your own neighborhood? And that's the fourth wall, really, showing people through rap and lyricism, and through then the third wall of activism, and then the fourth wall of saying, no, you get involved, you turn it into something else, you turn this lyricism and this hip-hop into something totally different that we don't have right now.
But how do we convince the artists that rather take the big paycheck instead of blank?
Because you convince them that it's not a big paycheck. You convince them that it's just too, like, if, as example, if you throw a battle, right? Y'all in the battle throwing business, right? Yeah. I was talking Pet about this last night. You tell a nigga, yo, we got 20,000 for you to battle, right? But then we can't guarantee no other battles. You got niggas on a contract that only battle once every 2 years, right? But you get $20,000. Oh my God. Right. But wouldn't you rather have 4 battles that year for 8 to 10,000? Because that's 40,000 versus the other. That's more exposure. That's more time. Now, I understand that there are levels to the economics. People want to be paid a certain amount and keep it there at that level. But we're talking about business that isn't really inclusive of the artist in terms of the background scenes of the money making. For example, in boxing and in other sports, unlike in MMA still doesn't have the laws to regulate that. And it's funny that battle rap is going to enter that sphere, even though it has nothing to do with physical contact. It's because of the unions, right? But the union demands that you then have a representation for the artist to be able to make money off that pay-per-view. So an artist could come to KOTD and say, hey, listen, you don't have to put up money up front, or you go to Smack eventually and say, hey, you don't have to pay me up front. I get my regular check or whatever I was going to get up front. But then after the battle's over, I'm going to get some royalties because y'all was getting some royalties. It would be as if no one ever got paid over pay-per-view that was a boxer ever. My nigga, if that was the case, you know, Floyd, damn, he make more money off that than off the fight, of course. And off the royalties of it. So I feel like, look, we're sitting with the man right here who invented pay-per-view battle.
First pay-per-view.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
And my man is mad humble. Real shit. Wow, humble. Wow, humble. He's too modest, right? He don't like to tell all the things that he's done. And I have to say it for him and slap niggas around for him sometimes, ironically, since I'm slightly shorter than he is. But real shit, though, it's true. Like, the invented pay-per-view battles.
No, he did the very first.
Here's the thing: when it became something that became controlled by only one or two entities, Smack or the other one, you know, I feel like there's a probability now that we're moving forward, and this is getting to a much more larger global audience, right? Battles in different languages, battles in different places. Right. It could be at this point, you're at the level where you have a brand, which is different. Yeah. Right. Smack KOTD. Y'all could do a battle in Paris, all in English. It would still be okay. Bad people would still show the fuck up, or in England, or in Germany, or in another place. Do these kind of Thriller in Manila type battles where people show up in a certain area. You be in South Africa. A lot of people tend to speak English in that country. Obviously, for not some of the best colonial fucking reasons in the world.
The one in the Philippines was humongous. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Flip chop.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That shit was it disrupted the country type shit.
Man, you know me.
Yeah,
She was
Sway
on
battled
that,
in
and
there.
that's Team Rhyme. That's
Sway
my brother.
Sway
That's
Check.
our brother.
One idea that we had thrown around, just getting deep into it, where we're really trying to break it down and see what would be the best step, or what we think would be best for hip hop in general. And we were thinking maybe we can get some kind of a union for MCs, DJs, producers,
We tried that.
like
We tried
that.
Yeah, we
Really?
tried that. We tried that. It was called the Grassroots Artist Movement with myself,
There
El
we
Rebel,
go, man.
Dead
That's
Prez, a few other people.
Majesty,
and
rest in peace.
Majesty, rest in peace. And essentially what we did is we found a community of hood doctors. This was in like the 2006, 7, 8 era. We found a community of hood doctors.
I think it was before that.
It was maybe a slightly, but it extended itself to that period of time because it went on for a long time. Even after the original project kind of collapsed because we lost a lot of the main doctors. We had we had a network of maybe like 100 doctors that people had contacted. And basically when people signed up, they could then perform, and they would perform at community centers and perform at all these places for free for the kids. And then through that, obviously we didn't slave them out. It was like 1 or 2 things like a month.
Right.
And for that, they would receive, the health care of a weekly or a monthly checkup, see what was wrong, and then if it was something very serious, they could be hopefully recommended to a specialist that was one of the doctors that we knew. It wasn't a perfect thing. It wasn't an all-inclusive system, but it was an idea. It was an idea that hung in the minds of all of us. If we know people from the areas, why can't we have them included in what we do? See, you know what I mean? You don't just be a revolutionary by rapping about it. This motherfucker's a doctor. Have him help us.
Right.
Have people.
What the thought came from people saying, well, what do you do about it? Because are we complaining about how we're not getting paid and how we're overcharging all this stuff? And like, well, what do we do about it? And then we actually sat down and we're like, we could do a union and like really get the ball. But you guys got the ball rolling on it. You were actually looking
there's
at
several
doctors and
different
stuff?
perspectives to consider in your line of work, right?
Yeah.
You have the bosses, the people who make everything happen, and the people behind the scenes who set the tone for many things in the culture. You have the fan base that is going to be totally different. That is like a ocean current, because you can get a rogue wave that smashes your whole event, and then you have the battlers, which represent pretty much the other side of the workforce. But don't get it twisted. The fans are the workforce. They're bringing in the bread that makes it even possible for the battlers to be there.
Right.
The battlers in some way have to acknowledge that, and that if they don't curb their ego through realizing that's what lacks in a person's longevity that I've seen. You know, when the people last is when they say, even if they act like a dick on stage, even if their shtick is to be a schmuck on stage, right? When they get off that stage and they meet the fans and they cool, okay,
Pen, let me ask you, what did you envision when you did the first one? Like for battle rap in particular, for as a whole, what did you have in mind for it?
The pay-per-view?
Putting battle rap on those standards, like being viewed and like doing everything that you did with the very first one you did, right? For the first battle you put together. What did you have in mind for it?
Okay, the first one that I put together in this, I guess, the grind time era.
Grind time, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that was.
Because you didn't put nothing together on the WRCs. It was just all grind time.
No. I mean, I put events together before WRCs. You know what I mean? From Hook.com, and that was the first major battle event that I put together years ago. This is like 2000, right? 2000. You know what I mean? I used to work for this website. We kids. Still living at home. Got a job as website, and they hired a bunch of hooligans. I was one of
You're one of the hooligans.
I was one of the hooligans that were hired. Shouts to Rachel.
Shout out Rachel.
I still follow her. I still follow her on Instagram.
Shout out Rachel.
Shouts to Rachel. Love you, girl. Yeah, that's so we all worked. Well, I worked for the website with her and a few other people, and it was very ambitious. For the early 2000s. People that are older, such as myself, remember when it was like a website boom. But it's funny because now literally everything is a website now.
Right,
but
right.
Back then it was like that's what
The one website everybody went to.
was running to for the online businesses. So everybody thought every online business was going to just be amazing. So there was this website I worked for named Hooked.com, and they have very ambitious goals. Like they wanted to be an online. They were pretty much an online magazine. They were online clothing, hip hop clothing. They had like that message boards. Everything, interviews,
about 10 years too early.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was gonna say like that's
shopping online like that back in the day.
No one had a credit card, nothing back then.
Harry Belafonte was one of the partners in the website. Puff, it was.
Oh wow!
Shout out to Mr. B.
It was big. So imagine working for that. So imagine me at work, doing my job, and Harry Belafonte just walks in my office.
Right.
And keep in mind, I'm mad young, you know what I mean? And this is Harry Belafonte, and like he has a very strong presence, you know what I mean? And he's a strong guy, even though he's older. He has like a very strong presence, and like I see him, and I know who he is, but I can't dick ride, you know what I mean? First of all, I'm at work, and second of all, I don't dick ride anyway. Right. But it's still like, but just imagine you at work and like Harry Belafonte.
I can't.
You're gonna be like. Damn, son, I want to say something to this dude.
Right.
Harry Belafonte, like, what's up? You know what I mean? But you can't,
I still get like that whenever I go backstage and it's like someone that I haven't met yet. Like, I saw Let Me Know at the show and I'm like, oh shit. Oh yeah, all right, cool. Like walk over there, go talk to him.
Well, it's funny with hip hop. I don't do that because we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah,
you guys met everybody.
And I'm not gonna lie, being from we're New Yorkers and be real. Like a lot of New Yorkers do have that air about them. It's like we've seen so much.
Sure.
So
doesn't give a fuck about
seeing
it.
another rapper, like I'm a rapper.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know this. I mean, even though there's people that have attained a billion times more levels of success than I have.
Yeah.
Like if I see him, I may pay respect. Like I'll nod and be like, "Yo, good shit" or whatever. But that's it. Like that's all. That's all I
People
would
act
do.
differently based on. on the flight here.
Right.
Okay, I gotta hear that.
Why? What happened with that? What happened with that?
Yo, you tell him, Pen. I'm gonna just
hear
sit here and
this.
laugh.
This
True
just
story.
happened a few days ago.
Okay.
We've been here for almost a week, right?
True story.
All right, so we did an event in New Jersey last week, Farm Fest. Like it was last Friday, and then the day after we flew out to from Newark to LAX,
Right.
and then back to basics and all that stuff. So anyway, we're in Jersey. We're getting on the flight. Well, let me tell from my perspective.
Get it.
Because that's the only way I can tell it. That he can add on it.
I'm not gonna say nothing, bro.
Dude, this is gonna be good.
This is hilarious. This is hilarious.
exclusive.
This is hilarious because it really happened.
Okay.
This like the best stories are the true ones.
Yeah,
you know
no doubt.
So Tech boards a little bit ahead of me. We're in the same row. We're next to each other. Right. He's in the middle. I'm in the aisle. But he boarded like a few steps ahead of me for whatever reason. I don't know. I was charging my phone, so I still had it plugged up. So he gets on the flight, whatever. So I'm like, a few steps behind. He's already on it. So then I'm walking up to the line, and somebody bumps me as they walk past. They kind of skip me and shit. And I looked up, and it was Q-Tip.
Oh shit.
The legendary Q-Tip.
Tribe Called Quest.
Shouts to my drinking partner Jerobi. Yeah, me and Jerobi.
Right.
That's one of my drinking.
Okay.
Me and Jerobi versus anyone on earth in a drinking contest. Fuck y'all
Under
up.
the table.
Man.
I gotta see that in action.
That's alcohol poisoning.
I gotta see that.
Anyway, so Q-Tip, he bumped. I mean, he didn't like bump me on no rah. He brushed past me. So I looked. It was him. I'm like, oh, peace. What up, Tip? You know. Respect, oh yeah, what's up, man? He's a mild mannered dude. And he had his lady with him. I'm pretty sure he didn't know who the fuck I was, but
I thought he knew you or something. Like he recognized you. And he was like, "Yo."
No. He was just trying to get. Okay. He had first class seats.
Yeah.
That was I got first class brush spot.
Yeah, he's like, "Yo, get out the way, bro."
That was I got first class. Like, that was one of those brush spots. It wasn't the poison pig. I fuck with you. It was like, my man. I know my seats are better than yours.
Sure.
Get out the way.
It was that brush spot.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But respect. I respect the Tip though.
Yeah, no doubt.
So So he gets on. I give him a parent respect. He gets on whatever. So I follow him. Obviously, he's in like row -1. He's like in the cockpit. Like he's that fly. Like He was so dope. He got there an hour before we did. We were on the same flight.
He has one of those masks on, like you know what I'm saying, he's just leaning back.
Speaking of that,
it's a dope segue. You weren't even there. That's a dope ass segue. All right, so I'm walking in my seat. We were only in row 9. It wasn't that serious. We were in row 9, but you know, Q-Tip was still in like row -1. He was all the way in the front.
He's on the tip of the plane.
Yeah. He was on the front, like he was like the emblem on the car.
I'm the Rolls Royce.
He was that close to the front of the plane.
Sure.
But as he deserves to be because he is who he is.
Yeah.
And so I go to the road. Tech's already sitting down, and there's somebody next to him.
Right.
There's a slim dude next to him. With he had like a scarf, kind of veil on his face.
Oh no!
Right?
Oh shit!
And he's sitting there. You know what I mean? I'm not paying attention. You know, we don't give no fucks. Tech's already sitting down, so I sit down. Whatever.
Yeah.
So we just sitting there, and I know when I wear dark colors. No matter where I go, if I wear all black. Or black shirt. If I wear a black shirt, no matter where I go, people think I'm security no matter where I am. Anyway,
I can see that.
Like if I'm in Burger King, people are like, hey, yo, fam, where the bathroom? Like, yo, dude, I don't work here, dude. I'm just fat and getting something to eat.
Where's the bathroom?
You know what I mean? So like, no matter where, if I'm in a club, I always get the big man like the love, like the extra respect.
Yeah.
Not because they scared of me, because like, but I think he may kick me out though. Like, oh, that fam, I don't work here, dude. Like, it's always me.
You need to carry one of those little lights with you.
Oh, just
like you're in a grocery store. Like,
no bullshit. I've done that before. Like when I'm trying to get out the club, I put the flashlight on my phone and I do this shit and everyone parts.
Wow,
that's big boy shit.
Okay.
But anyway, so the people they were I think there was a family in front of us. There was 3 people. They were all together.
Right.
And they keep turning around, looking in the row, and they're talking. And then looking at the dude that's sitting at the window seat next to Tech. They keep looking at him, and they're talking towards him. But dude is like just like acting like he don't even see him or hear him.
Oh shit!
But he had like a veil, he had like one of them
like
Louis V, like one of them Louis V scarves.
Yeah.
Not a veil, like you know. He didn't have a hijab on, but he had the scarf like to cover you the side of his face, like one of them Louis V fly with the cool young boys be wearing, one of them shits.
Yeah, those are dope.
And so they're talking, but I'm not paying attention. Like I got my headphones, I'm listening to my music, he's chilling, but they're looking. So I'm thinking they're having a conversation with the dude.
Yeah,
I'm thinking they're talking to him like they're all having a conversation with you know, but they're talking about him like they're trying to talk to him. So they ask this dude, right? They say, excuse me. He's like, what's up? And they were like, yo, I ain't gonna say it.
Tell him.
We here already.
Hold on. Is that this person? It's like, I don't know. Why don't you ask him? Yeah. And then he just kind of like, dude says nothing.
Yeah.
Like the entire time, like
people are gathering around. And he's just
they weren't gathering. It was just the people in front of us. It wasn't like a little crowd, but we were in row 9. They were in row 8. So they were looking like, oh, is that dude? So Tech's like, why are you asking me for? Ask him.
Yeah.
And dude is just like no one's even speaking. He's sitting there. And so then they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought y'all were all together." Right. So I guess they thought we were probably this motherfucking security or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so then he put the full mask on.
Yeah, so
he pulled the veil down, and it was like you remember like the Wu-Tang Clan video where like you had the veil and it was like they covered your face from here to like your chin and went all the way down there. And
who was it?
It was like he was looking through a bandana.
I like this guy.
Pretty much.
I was like, what is going on?
So
I'm laughing. I'm
zero
like,
fucks given by this dude, bro.
I forgot when I. Oh, I can't go there.
Come on.
No, I can't.
Come on.
I can't tell you when I was clouded because.
Oh yeah.
Damn, you can't go there.
Why?
But fuck it. That would make the story better, but it doesn't.
No one's gonna listen to it.
Whatever. Anyway.
No one's gonna hear this shit.
So they asked, was it this person? See.
Come on.
Anyway,
who it was. We know who it was.
No.
We gotta know.
You know, if we get enough fucking listens and views on the motherfucker, then we'll tell you who the fuck it was.
Oh, okay, that's a good. There you go. I like that.
If we get that, that's incentive. That's incentive.
All right.
You already got Immortal Technique. You can
let's
put your
say-
pen on the motherfucking on the podcast any damn way.
When we get 2,000,
2000.
will you tell
Because this isn't live right now.
and I'll screenshot you the 2,000 downloads.
We'll talk about
Okay,
that. We'll talk about that.
cool.
We'll talk about that. But anyway, so when they asked, was it that particular person?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't, because I didn't. The motherfucker's face was covered the whole time anyway. So I'm like, I don't. So, and then when they told me who it was, I'm trying to remember one of the dude's songs, because I'm not an R&B dude like that. But of course, I know some. I know
Who's
some
this?
shit.
Oh, I already know who it is.
Yeah.
It's an R&B guy.
Oh, I already know who the
So,
fuck it is,
Skinny
man.
too. You remember he said was skinny.
So
R. Kelly.
So
Oh shit.
So I'm like, whatever. So I'm not thinking nothing of it. But me and Tech were having a conversation when I sat down that may have been a part of the reason why he didn't make himself known or whatever. 'Cause I was talking about another situation that was funny. And it almost might have,
Been true?
Did it include him?
Nah, it
wasn't about him, but it was about how other artists hide their face and how they cowards and they don't want to deal with regular people. And he may have thought we was talking about him, but in reality, we hadn't even
know who he was when I sat down.
because we was standing in the aisle having this conversation, and he was right in front of us. So therefore, we didn't care.
What
But the reality is that if you wanted to hear stories about us and our interactions with celebrities, ever since I got accused or niggas talked to me about that Hamilton shit, dude, people have wanted 90 stories from me and Penn. Because listen,
Yeah, I
let
got
me tell you the
that
truth.
question sent to me a lot.
I grew up in New York with a lot of quasi and a lot of real live celebrities now. And a lot of them got beat the fuck up and robbed, and a lot of them were just cool people that never tried to be bigger than they were, and that's why nobody fucked with them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But he
'Cause
named you specifically.
They remember New York. They remember New York as being a different New York.
Right.
And it's funny because when that came out, like I literally had not even seen it go viral. It had been part of a podcast, and I had hit him up over it because, we follow each other on Twitter. We cool. Every time I've always supported his projects. He's always tweeted my shit out. Real good guy. Like I know his wife. Come on, bro. We go way back. So when rap first came out, I started laughing and we tweeted back and forth about it. But then after it became like a huge thing, it was something I needed to clarify, because there were a lot of people that like, hey, is he still doing this? Like, oh, is he really going around beating people up?
Right.
Like that's still so fucked up. And then they popped up with another thing, a case that got dismissed and where I was totally exonerated, where they had me accuse me and they said a dozen of my friends mercilessly beat down 3 people.
Yeah.
But in the same police report that my lawyer had to force them to redact, it says at the end of the original police report, no injuries reported. Brother, how do I beat someone down mercilessly and there are no injuries reported? Nobody went to the hospital. Nobody got anything broken. Nobody was fucked up. Nobody's teeth got knocked out. Nobody got a black eye. Right?
You think that's because of who you are?
Nothing happened.
That's why they did that?
And really, reality, it took me spending $30,000 on attorneys, on private investigators to find out that one of them was a dude that did a slip and fall in front of Bloomingdale's, that another one was a scamster. And you know what? I'm not denigrating these people. Okay. You know what? God bless you, brother. I'm not criticizing your hustle. I'm not telling you, because you must be in a situation where you're trying to feed kids to do shit like this. I guarantee these people can't be that selfish for themselves. Poor people, I give them a little bit more of respect for stealing than rich people. Because rich people, you don't need to steal. You're just being a piece of shit and you're taking millions of dollars from broke motherfuckers around the world. But poor people, you stole my sneakers out my fucking box when I wasn't looking. Bro, you need sneakers. I don't have them. That's the difference. I gave these niggas leeway. I said, I don't want to press charges. I don't want nothing. I just want the charges dropped. I wanted to go away. And that's what my lawyer said. He said, yo, you can sue for false arrest, all these things. I said, no, but I do wanted to know that I was exonerated. So, of course, what happens? 100 stations, KTLA, Fox, the rest of these bitch-ass niggas, all these conservative stations especially, Immortal Technique, arrested. And the reality is that only 3 or 4 of them ever put out oh, he was totally exonerated, or charges all dismissed, or this was found out to be a lie. So I mean, you just know what you're dealing with there. So it's kind of the same situation with that.
So there's a lot of MCs that we'll try to hit up,
Right.
and people give us like, hey, yo, he's really cautious when it comes to the media, right?
Right.
There's artists like Method Man who doesn't want to hear media, like nothing, hates it, like he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Last time that we hit him up, and he was like, they were basically explaining like, bro, there's no telling what kind of position you're going to put the artist in. When you do independent outlets, right? You don't know what kind of questions they're going to hit you with. You don't know that kind of stuff. Why do you think there's been this almost twist of like the media being something that you have to do, not want to do as an artist?
Well, I mean, I think it's because it's still the strongest way to get your message out to people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the problem is that when you're an artist that's really famous, you are in a position in which people will love to misconstrue your words.
Exactly.
So if you say something that has nothing to do with that, and you just say, all of a sudden it becomes something totally different. It could be a racial issue. It could be a gender issue. It could be anything. It could be, you say, hey, someone asks you about transgendered people, and you don't really know nothing about that. So you say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't know nothing about that. And then they say, such and such artist, MC such and such, denies the existence of transgender, something like that. When you don't even know,
like a Vlad title.
You're ignorant. You're ignorant. Well, I don't know. I've had good experiences with Vlad, so I can't necessarily say. He never did that to me.
If you never did that to me. Fucking question like a dickhead on Vlad. Don't blame it on Vlad. Blame it on your dumbass for answering that dumbass question.
Talk about it.
And then
I've been on Vlad a few
I see a lot of
times,
people
I ain't say no dumb shit.
Right?
And then
Fuck wrong with y'all dumbass niggas.
I tell people, at some point, Vlad is just making fun of the artist. Like, at some point, he's like, look at this guy. Like, come on, Vlad.
I mean, let's not gonna act like Vlad and hype certain things. Like, me and Vlad.
I like
cool,
Vlad.
Man. Like, listen, I was in the club in London. Being very I was doing I ain't gonna go there. That's a whole nother podcast.
Oh, come on, bro.
And I just bumped
Doc,
into Vlad
you keep teasing us, Pen, you keep teasing us.
My whole life is a series of podcasts, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before Ted comes back, I
Okay.
want to ask you about
grind time, bro. Like you were like what Tech was saying. You had the very first pay-per-view event. Like what made you feel the need to? Did you hear someone talking about it, or did you have access to it? Like what pushed you to do? Because I want to jump into the URL and King of the Dot and talk about your connection, but I want to know what it was that pushed you to do the first pay-per-view event in battle rap.
Are there nerds in that motherfucker?
Nerds in that motherfucker.
Hell yeah, there's nerds in this motherfucker. Well, honestly, I was just trying to look for another way to make some bread, man. I was putting a lot of money into it, and I was trying to figure out another stream of revenue to get it back. And obviously, everyone was going online to view the battles, so that was just naturally the next step. And shouts to my man Judge. Right. When we used to be on the rap music board, my man Judge helped us out a lot. Direct always. You know what I mean?
Shout out Direct.
And
and it was live, right?
Yeah, it was live. It was live.
Oh,
but
wow.
So we did the first. It was called Follow the Leader. I'm sorry.
Follow the Leader. That's what it was.
That was like 6-7 years ago, right? Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Disaster battled.
No.
Disaster didn't battle at that one?
No, Disaster battled the Body Bag Season. Body Bag Season.
Yeah. No, I think who battled? Rome battled this one?
No, Follow the Leader. The main event was that Aquas and Rome?
I think it was. Because I remember, it was.
That was Swave and QP.
Yeah.
That's a classic. That's Swave and QP. And then we also did Swave and QB versus Direct and Gaddis.
Did that go down?
Yeah.
It's up?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
That was that card. Elzilla and Lotta Zay. John and Moneybag.
When you put it together, right, you said you were trying to make some extra cheese, but you knew you had something popping like maybe 3 or 4 battles in when it was like getting those numbers, right?
Yeah.
Well, New York was already killing it in grind time to begin with. Like battle rap was already at its. I think that was right before grind time even went down when you did. I think that was the last grind time event ever. Wasn't it? No, not now. This was like the after a pop. This was when grind time had barely was about to be going down. You did the last big event.
Yeah, and that was the reason I called it Follow the Leader, because I knew what I had implemented was gonna take this battle rap world to the next.
So yeah, he
level.
already.
That's why I called it Follow the
Right.
Leader. I didn't. That wasn't just some name I pulled out of the sky. I knew what I was doing when I did it. You know what I mean?
When you think about back then when you first started to now, what do you think is the biggest mistake a new battle rapper does? Like now that you can look at it, trying
to sound like everybody else.
That's probably been happening.
Pass the nerds, please, brother.
That's been happening.
Thank you,
What do you think was the downfall of grind time? What do you think? What was? Because I was working with grind time I got on grind time a little bit late with Lush, and when he was when we did the Disaster Verse. No, never mind. That was shit. I don't even know when I first started, but I remember it was kind of right before the ending of it. So what do you think from your mind was the kind of the downfall of grind time?
I should pick up the microphone, right? Yeah. Well, honestly, my humble opinion, too many people had too much say so. You understand what I'm saying? Like, all right, it was cool that there was, so many divisions, so many people that wanted to contribute to the art. But everyone, okay, just because your division produced 40 battles this month, don't mean that they should all be uploaded on the main page and those battles. Okay, you may have done 40, and I may have had 4 battles that month. But whose battles held more weight? Whose battles got 400,000 views in a day?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm putting on. Like, I'm literally holding this shit up from under my own immense weight, bro. I'm holding this shit up myself. You know what I mean? So why am I sitting there jockeying for position with 13 other people who weren't producing? Not saying I was the only person producing, but weren't producing as much quality.
You felt like you're putting in a lot of work.
Oh shit! Felt like
more work than anyone else was putting in, and they were kind of saying what they were going to do with it and reaping the benefits of it, I guess.
Everyone didn't need equal say so, man. Everyone didn't need equal say so.
Right. So then it goes down.
And pardon me, and quality control too. I still have battles to this day
that haven't came out.
I've never put out. Not one event I've ever done. Ever. And you could look, I've thrown more events than most people. Not one event that I've done ever that I put out every battle for. Ever. Because if that shit was trash, or if I felt that shit was trash, I don't want my name attached to that shit.
Can we see you coming back though, as a battler yourself with the?
Oh hell no!
No.
You started battling like what, 99, something like that.
Something like that.
Why not? Because we talked about this a little bit. Remember last time that you were on the show? You said I told you what my dream one would be, and you're like, "Oh man, that would be off the hook."
Yeah, we backstage. Yeah, I'm a boy. Nah.
Now you wouldn't do it. You're done with it.
It's too much.
I fucked around at the Double Impact freestyle and bugging out.
Yeah.
And I didn't how it went down.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'm like, you know what? I ain't built for this shit no more.
So then after that,
I mean, we could write, like, we want to write and spit balls. I write and spit balls of whoever. Like, I'm dead nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't.
No, we'll get into that.
Sitting there like, writing around about another person. Like I didn't even. I didn't write diss records of motherfuckers I have beef with, and I've had beef with other rappers. I'm not gonna I didn't write rounds about people that I really had problems with. So why am I gonna do it in the ring? You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna ask you guys, because you guys move around so much, right? You must run into different factions of MCs that are also traveling all the time, like Atmosphere, whoever you run into the Air Pros all the time, right? Mm-hmm. You guys been doing it so long. How do you guys? But I guess you do have some. How do you guys avoid altercations with other like squads or groups? Because some people do run their mouth, or you could take. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you guys avoid that kind of stuff?
Being 100% honest.
Yeah.
Most of these niggas don't want no altercations.
Okay.
Let me clear that up.
Let's hear it.
Oh, I want to get into the battle rap after that.
Let me clear that up. Yes, I meant it in that way too, but I didn't mean it in that way on some super.
No. I see. I know what it is. I
meant it like. I mean it for myself too. So. I mean, I meant it in that way 1,000 times over, but I meant it in the other way as well. Like, first of all, me, I'm a grown man. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying other people aren't, but I have other things I need to tend to in my life, family, you know what I mean? Other business ventures, trying to just bettering myself. So I'm not out here just trying to jump out the fucking window either. You know what I mean? But most of these guys, like as far as like you named a bunch of other camps, you named Atmosphere, and we have so much respect for each other because we all came up with each other anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
We all came up with each other. Well, and altercations have occurred, but we don't like. I don't like. If people know my music, they know I talk that tough shit all fucking day. You know what I mean? And I backed it up, so whatever. But I'm a grown fucking man. But it's damn man. I'm fucking rambling now, trying to get to the fucking point of this shit.
It's all good. So let's get into the URL. How did you get a part of the URL? So that was after Grind Time. You started fucking with the URL after that. Or was it? It wasn't the YouTube space after Grind Time, was it? You went to URL.
The time period was.
I think it was URL, and then you started.
Yeah. I went from Grind Time to URL.
So how did you do that? You just said what's up?
Grind Time
fucked up. Was cracking? Or those are your people already like that?
Wait, how did I start doing events with URL?
Right.
Is what you're asking me? Well, if anyone looks at all of the old Grind Time East Coast footage or Grind Time New York footage or whatever have you, if anyone looks at that, you can see from jump. That's back when we were still doing judge battles all the time. You see, Norbs was at all the major events. Norbs was judging all the battles.
You're right. He was.
You know what I mean? Beasley was at the events. Smack ain't pull up like that. But URL was in our events all of the time.
You're right.
There was not one event that we had that URL was.
But
not
they weren't the URL yet.
No, we were doing this shit before they were.
Okay. So then how did that? Were you in conjunction to help them start that off, and you came along with them like that?
This is what happened. Let's say this: no one owns the patent on battle rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't invent that shit. Smack ain't invent that shit. Organic ain't invent that shit.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Fucking Cool Mo D ain't invent that shit.
Right.
Like, so nobody owns the patent on battle rap.
100%.
Let's just let that be said. So there have been battles going on for years. Smack DVD, they threw battles before Grind Time, New York. But
well, what I meant to say was that it started catching that buzz.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
All right. Well, as far as doing the events and all that, nobody was doing major battle events in New York, other than back in the day they were like spectacles such as Blaze Battle, but that was like back in like 2000 and shit like that.
Well, that's you. I think you battled on Blaze.
Yeah, I battled Blaze Battle.
Right.
So, but so between that time, but that was when they, backed by $1 million corporations and shit. But you know, there were no big battles. You know what I mean? Like events on a consistent basis. We were doing that.
So
we were the first ones to do that. I was doing that shit. You know what I mean? So, you know, Smack at the time when they were doing the Smack DVD joints.
Like in the parks,
you see, they would do like,
like
okay, we got a battle in the park. They have a battle. All right. Or maybe they do one in a community center or a gym. It just be like, all right, we meeting up. This book, obviously, before it became what it became. But so like that's what they were doing. They weren't doing like, yo, we got a whole card here. Nah. But they weren't doing any events when Grind Time had started doing events like when even back when Jay's Juice was running it before my big brother PH. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, PH. We're talking about that.
They were like, you know, in the basement here, but they were doing them shits like in the back of motherfuckers' buildings. Like it was real grimy, but then they would do like in the studio. Most of the time they were doing it back then with like up in the Bronx or Westchester, Yonkers or whatever area. Cause that's where Jay's Juice is from. He's from Yonkers. But then when PH joined in with them, they started doing, you know, other joints in the I don't know. To this day, I don't know why. I don't have the 100% story why PH and Jay's fell out. But me and Jay's gonna talk about. I got a whole another project I'm working on
with Jay's.
No, not a project, not like a music project, but a project talking about some things.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Where would you like to see it go now, Pen? Though you've seen it be pay-per-viewed, you see it fill out a stadium. Like, where do you want to see it go next? Have you thought about it that far?
No, I mean, I just want to see the scene just. I mean, it's looking like it's self-sustainable now. Like outside of just like. It's separate than the music,
right?
You know what I mean? It's separate than what's on the radio. It's still hip hop, but
it's still bars. It's fully 100% bars.
Yeah.
There's no hiding behind beats.
I just want to see people just keep pushing the envelope further, man.
How did you connect with URL? Did you like?
Well.
Did they just start doing events?
No, like I said, we had the link from before. They were always a part of our events. PH had booked Math Hoffa versus T-Rex. Now both of them had previously battled on Smack DVD, like a few years before that or whatever have you. But Smacking them, they weren't doing any events or whatever. They weren't doing anything of that fast. So they weren't really doing much as far as battles. And by that time, DVDs were slowing down anyway, just in general. You know how to go. You know, everything's digital now.
Mm-hmm. I hate that.
So they weren't doing events and that like that. But anyway, so PH had booked T-Rex versus Math Hoffa. And I was around, but that was PH's. I was still working with PH. That was his deal. I have no idea what the exact business was. So I'm not gonna speak on any numbers because I don't know the exact numbers, and my big bro's not here to explain what the numbers were.
Okay.
But all I can say is this: PH had booked this, and Math and T-Rex could both say yay or nay about it. The finances got screwed up somehow, so the money wasn't able to be or the money wasn't there.
Right.
So obviously all the money wasn't there.
Shit
that left
down.
the shit in a
limbo.
bit of a limbo.
Yeah.
So you want to talk to Rob about? Yo, Rob, why ain't you call this nigga? Yo, PH, you know PH did his business differently, man. But yeah, so
he had a deal.
So being that the deal fell through for the battle, that's when URL stepped in like, yo, we got this bread. They gave him the money that we didn't pay them. Well, PH and Grind Time didn't pay them, but I was a part of Grind Time, I guess. So I'll hold that little bit of it, even though it wasn't my deal at all. So I think it was a dude from. I think it was one. Was the dude used to be a part of Grind Time Atlanta, Mr. ATL?
Mr. ATL.
Was it him that?
Yeah. The guy that everyone.
Don't ATL if it wasn't you. I'm not throwing you in it. I just think for whatever reason, I think that may be the name that I remember a part of the situation. If it's not you, I'm not trying to throw you in it. But I think it was PH and Mr. HCL that had whatever agreement to get the bread for the joint.
Okay.
What else you got?
And that didn't happen. Hold on, that didn't happen. So URL booked their first event. That was the main event in the studio when Star was hosting, and URL was birthed out of the Grind Time New York ball drop. And now that's that.
A ball drop.
And then
You know what I'm saying?
so then URL picks it up.
It never stopped running.
Okay.
And they still running. And they still fucking running.
So then, then the last thing about this battle rap segment I want to talk to you about was the YouTube space thing. So that was a one-time event. You had Daylight versus Math Hoffa. They got into a dope. I guess you could say it was kind of heated, kind of crazy. But that event could have been something that could have been monumental. I mean, something that could have been monumental out here and even for battle rap, just because there was people behind it that had bread and could make things happen. But it just happened one time. So I can only assume that it was on their end and not on your end, because you did everything you needed to do. I was at that event. It was great. You know, you held it down. So what happened with that if you want to speak on that?
Keep asking the question while I chew these nerds go.
Okay, so the extension of this question is, so
No doubt. Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up.
I'm just saying, like,
Here. We'll let you chew.
I'm about to answer the question, and I don't even know a fucking thing about
We'll
what
let you
happened,
chew.
man.
he's eating
But let me
nerds
tell you
over here.
something. I'm sure
He has
got something to do with bread.
Talk to him about-
Not
talk
just-
to him about-
you were
It
kind
got
of.
something to do with bread.
I'm bringing it up because you were kind of talking about it before we turned this
But you
mic
should
on.
have seen it when he saw the box of nerds. He's like, "Yo, there's nerds in there." Like, "Yo, give me that."
I need
shit.
those. He has them
I
right
need
behind
Let me
him.
tell you,
Like, I
why,
need
right?
them.
Let me tell you why.
I think the people should hear this.
Shout out to my brother that I love with all my heart right here, right? I went to the store the other day, right? Picking up, just a little shit to drink, whatever. And they had the candy. And it was like $4 for $4, and I'm like, fuck, I can't eat all this shit by myself.
Right.
Even though I probably could because I'm fat as fuck, but I don't like to sit there and eat candy all day.
Right.
I'm like, okay, Tex over in the crib too. I said, all right, so I bought the 4 boxes. Now we on the balcony, let's just say enjoying what Los Angeles has to offer.
So ganja,
You know.
women, and ganja.
So I pull out all these candy. This dude is like, oh shit. I'm like, all right, so I give him the candy, whatever. I leave, I go out. I went to the airliner last night. I come back like, yo, Dan, let me just eat a little piece of fucking Nestle Crunch or some shit. Y'all come back and every fucking box is empty and shit. I'm like, yo, son, like,
yo, man.
you give me that one piece?
Yeah.
So answer before we jump into something else. If you want to answer that, answer that. If you don't, it's all good.
All right. Yeah, them nerds was amazing. All right. Now you said the
YouTube space. What
YouTube
happened?
Space. What happened with that? Why didn't it
Yes, I think a lot of people wanted to know that, and I don't think anybody even really knows what happened with that.
Well, I was trying to tell them from jump to gradually ease into what they were trying to do. They were trying to make their place, their site, the go-to place for battle rap in general.
Right.
But they did something ambitious. They wanted to make the battles part of a subscription service, kind of like a Netflix type thing. You know, you get X amount of events, X amount of battles, and we will have battles from these leagues as well hosted on the site. So it wasn't just going to be their battles.
That's dope.
They were going to license. They were trying to make it the home.
Hell yeah, that's dope right there.
You feel me? But two issues, man. Like, first of all, as far as how they were trying to book the events, the main thing. Sorry, the main problem was it wasn't available on your mobile device.
Oh,
What?
Yeah. How ridiculous it is?
Yeah, that's insane.
So, and how does everyone enjoy, like,
Yeah.
Your battles or whatever. If you're in a car, if you're walking, like if you're in New York, if you're on a train or just going somewhere on a bus or whatever, everybody's on their jack. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone is on their phone.
Don't know how to use a computer no more.
You know what I mean? Like like if you're at home, all right, I'm sitting here. Yeah, you'll go on your laptop or your desktop. That's if you're home.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everyone is on their
phone. Yeah.
Or either their tablet.
Right. And it wasn't available.
So they had a subscription service for something that everyone watches on their mobile device that they couldn't access on their mobile device.
It's crazy.
Wow. So, bomb, death.
Yeah, right there. Right out the water, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then on top of that, like they were just overly ambitious, thinking that just because they had X amount of dollars that they could just buy libraries. A lot of people weren't trying to
and people, that's the wrong impression people get with battle rap.
They try to get the Vince McMahon. They try to do the Vince McMahon shit on them.
It don't work like that.
Wrestling libraries and shit, but yeah.
It don't work like that. It's a community of people that we love what we do. We're not, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with like a podcast or anything, you know what I'm saying? But what's up? Did you had something that you wanted to ask?
Well, that's one thing that when we put the word out, there was a couple questions for Tech that were answered, and I got to ask you now because you stand next to Penn, and he just explained this whole battle thing. Is like, would you ever consider doing it yourself?
Oh, we laughed about this. And I told him the price.
Yeah,
I said, "Yo, really? I need a half."
So they did all come to you with this.
No. He laughed. He said, "Technique." One day, he goes,
"Shoot me $1 million."
He goes, "What would it take?"
Okay,
$1 million.
And I said, we're talking about a really high figure,
right?
And
it's gonna go viral.
No.
Yeah.
I need half the receipts from the pay-per-view.
Wow,
that's not bad.
Okay, but who would you?
Whoa.
And they let you choose your opponent.
I couldn't do that.
I
couldn't do that. That would be totally different because with me or with anybody else from that era, this is the thing that I caution people.
Because you're making a deal that big.
No,
that's what they're going to do, right?
Like,
who do you want?
I caution people because a lot of people came to me after the cannabis debacle, after these other people, and even before that, were like, "Hey, would you consider doing that?" And I warned people that got back into it. It's not the same game that we played.
Hell,
don't get it twisted and think because I won 74 freestyle battles. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Right. That I walked home 74 times with everybody else's fucking money. That I can get up there and play a different format. And this plays into the McGregor Floyd fight.
Yeah, right.
This is another format. Yeah, listen, we had this conversation. You know who I think said it best, and I actually know him from way back in the day. Max Kellerman. He had an interesting analogy. He said, imagine a water polo player versus a swimmer. This is how people are imagining it. They think because they both swim, they're doing the same thing. No, one of them plays water polo. If Michael Phelps is going to be on a water polo team, man, he's going to swim faster than anybody else. But that doesn't mean that he can score.
True.
And on the other hand, if there's a water polo player who's really the fastest and the best person on his team, how the fuck is he going to succeed against the person who's just a naturally fast swimmer?
Right.
So when you look at it from that perspective, I always cautioned other guys. It was other guys really who were in the game, who had been in the game for a long time, who came to me then were like, yo, do you think I should do this? Uh-huh. And my advice to them was, don't start out with a big battle.
Right.
If you're going to do this, have a small battle.
But they're going to give you a big battle.
Because of who you are.
They're not going to let Immortal Technique start battling
But I'm saying, I don't mean you do that publicly. I'm saying you go to the gravel pits.
You get your reps
where it's only on
where
niggas'
it gets
phones,
it in.
where niggas ain't battling for thousands of dollars. Where they're battling for $5. I said, if you really want to do that, I'm not saying I would do that. I'm giving niggas the game plan because I know the game plan, nigga. I could listen. If I coached a battle rapper, he would be able to destroy, I would say, 99%.
Would you coach a battle rapper?
You would tell me right now, if you give me a young apprentice, Penn, I'll really have him.
You heard it here, man.
And you would do that?
But this is the difference. My role in hip hop is different. This is a young man's game in terms of battling. That's what people say.
Right.
But I think that it can be anyone's game as long as an individual is committed to that as opposed to writing music and putting that out
100%.
Because it's two different lanes.
Yep.
First of all, you have to have a certain sense of security in your masculinity to write 4,000 bars about another man.
Right.
To comment on his joint. To comment on his girl, to comment on his baby, to make everything in your life center around a person.
Right.
You know, and I think that there are dimensions that have never been explored about that. And I'm sure through the cruelty of my mind, we could find things to explore about that. But the question is this.
Damage.
What is that for?
Yeah.
What am I doing that for? Every single time people know me for something different. If people see you doing something different, we had this conversation about the Diz Holohan battle. Hollow the Don battle. And then the fucking, the Solomon versus, Arsenal battle. When you do something that the crowd doesn't necessarily know you for, they react differently to it.
Right.
And it's something that's out of character. It's more like people said, hey man, back in the day, I remember when I was coming up, they would say, hey, what if all these commercial rappers went and started doing revolutionary music? You think it would change? And I said, it would be strange before it changed. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just like, if you saw Chuck D do a Biggie record, would it be more believable than Biggie doing a Chuck D record? That's the question.
Wow. T.I. did that TI record was kind of tough, yo, from like a year or two ago.
But this is what I mean. If that's possible, if it's possible to switch a franchise, to switch a game, then I think that you have certain steps you have to take to do that. It's not just a jump in the water. For example, if we bring up the Conor and the Mayweather thing and juxtapose it with this, one thing people don't realize is, yeah, Mayweather, much more experienced. They're playing his game. But Conor may have one element that people don't consider, and that's the element of surprise. And it's a very powerful element. That's it. That's all he has.
Right.
The boxing ability, the speed, you don't have it. The skills, everything, you don't have it. You're flying blind, my nigga. You have
new world.
One fucking thing you hold on to. And I tell people, when you come in the game as a person who's not used to doing that, that's all you have, the element of surprise, which means the bar is set highly, like a slightly lower for you than it would to other people. So you don't have to be fucking amazing. And if you were amazing, then it would seem as if you were more amazing, because honestly, I think the past few times in which people have come back and battled has set the bar, I'm afraid to say, slightly lower for that sort of thing. But again, it's because we discussed this, and me and Penn would go back and forth, always talk about this. When you're in the middle of writing records and your mentality is writing music and not dwelling on the imperfections of another individual, when you're looking for positivity or your mind is open to other things, you cannot. It's like putting molasses through a faucet. You get little drips. That's not how it works, bro.
And you
need to have an open faucet to flow against your enemy.
Right.
It's like,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like I totally agree that if your mind is focused on trying to write some revolutionary or uplifting music, and then you want to go in there and straight destroy, it does sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah, way different energy. And your mind, I don't even think your mind can take it there. And if it does, it sounds corny or it sounds weak.
Well, I mean, it's not impossible. I said to people, look, a long time ago, it's not just a question of the money, right? I also caution people that if you're a real artist, that the criticisms of you that are made by even a nobody who's now given a platform seem legitimate. And I cautioned people, they may be criticisms that you end up defending in your real life. Because you're a famous person who's now has their entire past on blast, everything about you, right? So now there are things that are exposed about you as a celebrity that maybe weren't as, you know what I mean, as prevalent that you wanted. And the other person that being exposed, it doesn't really matter because they're not in a position for that to hurt them with let's say, with sneaker companies, with endorsements. You know, let's say niggas bring up and say, oh, wasn't you doing some ASAP Barry shit back in the day? And niggas say, oh, wait a minute. You was on camera trying to push up and take the pussy? Like, oh, no. That nigga's deal is cut. That nigga's hat deal is cut. People scared of that type of stuff. So I think that there's a business level, and it kind of sucks because it's really something that I guess a person in that position would be able to hide behind instead of actually confront and say, well, I'm not doing it for this. I'm doing it for this reason.
Kind of like what Drake did.
I don't know the mechanics of that, but I do know
it's a good defense
that there's a possibility for you to use that, and it's a legitimate thing that says, look, this interrupts, and this is something I'm going to have to defend. Like if you call me a child molester and you start saying that like it's actually real, people may actually say, wait a minute. Like,
is this true? And they start Googling and your name's
this is the
attached.
other thing. There's a metaphor that goes along with it. Excuse me, there's like a little saying that goes along with that. And it says, when you wrestle with a hog, you get muddy and the hog gets muddy, but the hog loves it. So if you want to battle and you want to get into the dirt of that, it's like a person who's known for being a witty and intelligent rapper. All of a sudden you start playing this extra disrespect stuff and it doesn't work because you don't know how to function. It doesn't know how to function correctly. Or a battler who's used to rapping and on beats and stuff like that and never really had to listen to the earth-shaking silence of a room full of 1,000 people waiting for you to say something and giving you 4 bars to get to it. Otherwise, we're gonna start booing. And they don't even give their champions, the niggas that they love, the people that they have proved it 100 times over. When they choke, there's no mercy against them. They'll still boo you because there's other niggas from the other niggas' side that are there to boo you. That's it.
Like Art Solomon, he got booed crazy.
And you have to realize that to win the battle, back in our day, you had to win them. That's the crazy shit about New York hip hop that I remind niggas that other people don't realize. You had to win the other guy's fans. That's how nice you had to be to win a crowd. You had to win the other guys because they were always going to be sectioned in that way off, which is why people started using judges in the first place. Because the last time Penn did an event and niggas brought 100 people there. 100 niggas, like literally 100 niggas came in the club with them. And I swear, I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? And they pushed their man to the semifinals. Boom, boom, boom. 3 people he knocked out because they made mad noise for him. He finally got his boots got smoked, and then his peoples were upset. So they cheered for the person that was then battling them. It was always a complex kind of political arrangement. And I'm telling people that because I witnessed it from that level. You know, but that was the days when people were getting $500 in a jacket for winning and the loser got nothing. You hear me? The loser, fellas, if anyone's listening to this out there and you're a battle rapper, hoping to get some drops of wisdom, how about this drop? You're getting paid for losing, my nigga. Back in the day, niggas didn't get paid for losing.
Talk that shit.
We didn't get paid for losing. We didn't get no trophies for losing.
Talk
right?
that shit.
Niggas just went home upset with nothing.
You wouldn't even get a free drink at the bar.
Real shit. No, real shit. I used to. When I was working, I did that song Bin Laden with Green Lantern, and we was at Shady one day with him, and everybody was there. And I was like, yo, you know, the realest shit about that fucking movie was that he goes home at the end with nothing. And everybody was like, he got it. That was the whole point of the movie. He still went home with nothing. His success was not guaranteed. He was not going to.
He went back to work.
He wasn't. B-Rabbit was not going to become Eminem. If that would have happened, that would have been the exception to the rule, which is kind of what I guess he implied, that look, I'm the exception to the rule. I'm the battle rapper that was able to make it into a career. Do you know how many people tried that and then didn't get there? It's kind of like that stupid 90s shit niggas used to say of, oh, just make the party songs and then make the conscious shit later on. That way never worked. It worked for like 1 or 2 artists, but you're talking about one way in which you got through the matrix, and you telling everybody else to get through that way. They can't get through that way. So I think I was telling people that's the realest shit about that we used to go home with nothing if you lost.
I remember thinking about that scene as he's walking away, and to me, I was thinking he had to have done this 1,000 times in his career. Like he had to have had nights like that. You know what I'm saying? Like this, that was one.
He just murdered it and went straight to work after that. They're like, man, you don't need to go to work. He's like, man, I'm on the way to work.
All the work that people don't see.
I've done that about 150.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's the stuff that people don't see for Eminem to become.
People still do that shit to this day.
But I think, look, over the years, you find that in terms of battle rap, that it's constantly going to change. You know, I remind people, if you want to look this up in ancient history, and that's what I teach in a prison, you can look at, there's something called the Byzantine Empire, right? It's the Eastern Roman Empire. It's basically what Greece was and the Northern Balkans and part of Turkey at the time. And they said that during the era of Justinian, who was a very powerful emperor, that he would argue in rhythmic pentameter with people about things. In Greek, they would get up and they would represent different sides of a political argument. One were called the greens, the other were the blues. And you can look this up for yourself. They would get in front of the crowd and they would have to argue at a certain tempo with each other, making a political statement. And it was common that anyone could get up there, even poor people, if you could use the pentameter and use that right. That comes from an Egyptian way of people speaking in the street and speaking through a certain rhythm. That's where the Greeks got it from. It all comes back to the ability to the spoken word. And it was said that even the emperor would have to go and defend a position against someone else.
Wow.
So if the Emperor Justinian had to battle a nigga, there's no reason why some of these diva-ass niggas can't battle somebody else. And I feel like every year we should have a Rocky battle, a battle where a no-name person gets to battle one of the best people in the thing. We should have that every year. And whoever does that should get paid a lot for their time, because they're going to have somebody throwing haymakers and coming at them like a maniac. But you know what? We should have some shit like that. Maybe it would bring that warrior spirit back to the culture. You know what I mean? I'm not an active participant
that's the way to
now,
do it.
but I'm telling you right now, the visions that I have for it, and I think what my man Penn could do, you know, just with the opportunity, man, I would love to see it happen. And I think for me, I'm not at the stage where I'm a glory hog anymore, brother. I've toured all over the world 10 times over. You know, I'm not sitting here trying to eat off somebody else's plate. I'm more in a position where I teach young artists how to be a better artist, where I teach young MCs. I would love to be involved in helping them grow as battle rappers and then growing that into an actual career, rather than jumping in the middle of it and looking like, you know, a 50-year-old nigga at spring break. I'm not here to play these times. I can't take Molly with you little kids. I can't drink promethazine with you. I can't smoke K2 with you and fuck high school girls. No, nigga. I'm in my fucking late 30s. I'm a grown ass man. My position in hip hop is to give you something else.
Right.
You know, I'm not an R. Kelly. You know what I mean? I'm not playing these little fucking games with you. I don't have time for that. I'm just going to tell you what it is straight, brother. But you know what? If I don't know the answer to the question, at least I can point you in the right direction.
Let me ask you this. So the other day, I was really seriously thinking about it. And something that me and Belafonte were talking about the other show was like, hip hop has refused to touch certain subjects. And it really bothers me, especially now that I'm very closely following all this political madness that we're going through, right? In the White House and everything. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's tweeting about it. And I mean hip hop media and I follow all the ones that I feel should and have the voice where it'd be very easy for them to put out an article or retweet something, but they're almost refusing to touch it. So then I started doing it. I'm like, fuck it, because people should know, and it's super important about what's going on. But how do we get the media, the hip hop media, to start talking and carrying?
There's two levels to it, right? I think that first of all, the hip hop media that was actually created by writers was replaced by a corporate structure where they didn't want writers. They wanted people that freelanced. And there were some geniuses that came out of that system, but they didn't want writers and they didn't want politics involved in the very beginning. I think that eventually they dealt with the reality that they were going to have that, because that's just how these publications were going to work. That's what the Black and Latino community wanted. That's what the poor white community wanted. They wanted to hear about these sort of things. I think that at some point people got to a level where they felt a sense of since we're a disconnected online society now, there's a certain intellectual snobbery that comes with thinking that you're above the spectrum of this politics. Oh, that's all a show. It's all this. Well, it's not a show for the niggas that's getting deported. It's a show for you because you don't have to deal with the consequences of it.
Oh, you were talking about that.
You know, there's a difference between being a centrist and being a person that uses difficulty to say that I don't want to get involved, right? The difference is that people don't understand that the political climate in America shifted to the right after 9/11. What do I mean by that? It means that what was the center, what was seen as moderate in the center, you became perceived as left. The people who were on the right of left in the center, they became the normal. And what was shifted was the people that were never allowed to get a voice and weren't taken seriously and were called kooks and lunatics. They were given a voice on what was now the extreme right. People that said, oh, we should ban all Muslims, kill all black people. I mean, these people that they shouldn't even be listened to, but they are. They're looked at in that way. And on the left, I think the difference is that people, when they talk about racism and they discuss these issues, they don't understand that there's a difference between being bigoted and being racist. If I make fun of someone because they can't dance and I say that's one thing, that's different than you being able to go into court and just because of the benefit of something that they don't understand that they've had for years, they get a different sentence or they can get a different representation of their people. And what I mean by that is not to say that I think it's wrong to call it white privilege. It's more of a white advantage that they don't understand that they have. In the same way that everyone has an advantage they don't understand. I'll give you an example. As a man, brother, what have you and I ever done coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning after a battle event to prevent yourself from getting raped? You know what? We have a male privilege, and we've never thought about that. But every man listening to this podcast, brother, if your little sister or your daughter was coming home at 3 o'clock, you would want her to look behind her back before she put the key in the lock. I'm talking to your heart, little nigga. I'm getting past all the bulletproof vest and the tough guy looks right now. If your mother was walking home at 4 o'clock in the morning after working a night shift, you would want her to look behind her when she was walking down the street. And if your sister or your daughter was in the club, you wouldn't want her to take a drink from some dude unless he drank it first, so that we know there's no roofies in it. So now we know that there are certain things that women have to do that we don't have to do to get along. And that's it. That's all that we're saying, that there are some things in the society that other people just have the advantage of because they never considered it. And the reason that it's not a privilege is because or reason it's not considered a privilege to them is because they think, man, I'm still poor. I'm still fucked up. No one's saying you're not poor. But even the poorest man isn't thinking about that in the middle of the night, is he?
Right.
The richest girl is, though.
Right.
So even the poorest certain person of a demographic is saying, man, all right, maybe the cops will give me a break. And even the richest nigga is getting stopped and having your pockets ran and jumped on the floor. So we already know what it is.
Maybe
it's
that's
not
why
a question
people
of
will
privilege,
never
but
understand.
of advantage.
Maybe that's why people will never understand, because they'll never have that fear that she has,
well,
or that want that, like they can never.
Right. Well, as a student of history, you have to point out certain things to people.
Yeah.
Like the people who started a transcontinental slave trade before Europeans had the power to do anything were the Vikinger. The Vikings used to steal women from the coasts of Scotland and from Northern Ireland, and they would steal them and sell them to the Arab lords in the slave markets of Cairo. Right? This was before Europe had its shit together. These people were drinking beer at that time in Europe in the Middle Ages because the water was infected. They were transferring diseases through genetic warfare because they knew if you threw sick bodies into someone else's shit, we're talking castle torture type shit. Wow. This was an age of a super religious state that all of Europe was, where people were burned for saying that the sun was not the center, that the earth was not the center of the universe. You see what I'm saying? That there was such a hold on the society. So what's the point in seeing that then transferred to a larger stage of people, right? You get that they don't get, or they've never been introduced to the history that's existed. So when they think about it, they don't think of it in the same context. Yeah. So when you say, okay, half the Crusades weren't even against Muslims, and people say, well, what are you talking about? In the age of counterterrorism and terrorism around the world, here's a little tidbit fact that puts everything into perspective. Half the Crusades were not against Muslims. They were against other Christians to consolidate power. Now ask yourselves a questions, white, black, brown, American citizens, or people that are just here listening to this. The people of the Middle East, have they gained or lost freedoms, or are in the same shitstorm they've been in for the past 50 years? You would say they've been in the same shitstorm. Sure, they've gotten freedoms. They've lost some. It's give and take here. Well, what about us in America ever since 9/11? Have we gained freedoms or lost them? No, we've just been taking L after L after L after L. So half these crusades that we see now are against those people over there, but the consolidation of power is here at home. And I remind people, what they miss about the immigration struggle is that they test the system on people with the least amount of political representation, so that when it happens to them, they have no one to complain. And it's more complicated than the old Holocaust poem. It goes even farther, because I'll say this much. We're all old enough to remember Star Wars, right? Of
course.
Remember when he was going to freeze Han Solo? The machine wasn't for Han Solo. It was for Luke Skywalker, right? And he said, well, what are you going to do? He said, what if it kills him? And he goes, I don't want the Emperor's prize damaged. Test the machine on Captain Solo. So that's why he threw him in there. Yeah. You niggas don't understand, and the white working class majority in this country for now doesn't understand that for all those years, we were Han Solo. and you were the emperor's prize. You were the majority of the tax money that they were getting. And they tested this system on us to make sure you were desensitized to it so you wouldn't complain. Oh, you talked so much about those FEMA camps, Alex Jones. I've been on this show.
Right.
You didn't land a glove. We talked about everything. Look, we talked about those FEMA camps. Now they're full of immigrants. And then the right-wing people stopped complaining. Wait. I thought these things were horrible to have any human in. The premise is not having a centrist position based on what the global politics of the day is. No, the centrist position is fake if you're compromising human rights.
Here's the problem, though.
That's the basic bottom line.
Is that everything you just said is knowledge, and people need to do their own research that'll lead them to other truths. Here's the thing. We don't talk about it in hip hop. And this bothers me a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Because as a media, I start to realize, well, my fans are listening. They're paying attention, and what I present to them, they're going to be like, well, I might be more lean to understand it or do more research if I hear it from someone I trust. I read an article that was like hip hop is the #1 music around the world now. It was like the influence has outgrown the rest of the world in like rock and country. Like there's more hip hop stuff around the world than anything else. But we don't talk about the politics, and we don't talk about knowledge of self, and the media doesn't perpetrate that. My question was, I want to know how we get them interested in doing so, and how do we get other artists to understand and say, yo, I have a voice. Let me use it for something positive.
I mean, I think, first of all, they have to realize that just talking about things and doing them, do and say are only related because they're verbs.
Right.
When you doing something is not, saying something is not who you are. Doing something is who you are. Although saying things can let people know and understand what your intentions are. Right. And people judge you a lot by your intentions.
Absolutely.
If you intend to kill somebody, you will go to jail, my nigga. If they find you with bombs in your house that just haven't gone off, you go in there for some intention.
100%.
So you can be judged by your words. Don't get that twisted. I think that what we're at an interesting stage of freedom of speech, because I think people misunderstand what that means. You can say whatever you want, but you still have to face some of the physical consequences
The
of it.
repercussions
For example, you can talk about human rights issues in the world and you will face consequences. If you want to talk about what's going on in China, if you want to talk about Taiwan, good luck doing business with China ever. Is that them stopping your freedom of speech? No, that's them saying, we just don't want to do business with you. Same thing with other places, which is why I say when you boycott someone, that's the only way that these people hear you, but you're still speaking the language of capitalism. They still forced you to speak in their language. So it's like, you say whatever you want, nigga. You're still speaking in English.
You came down to our
you're having this conversation with me. So I think in terms of that, you're going to have a constant.
People are like, oh no, if I say something about this label, then I can never work with this label or brand or whatever. Right. I'm sure that's a big fear of them, right?
Sorry, your box. I don't know if there's mics in there.
That's got to be a big fear. Like, whoa, some of my favorite artists are the ones that did speak out, though. The NWAs, the Dead Prez, Public Enemies.
Yourself.
Like they were using hip hop for what it was intended for, and I think we've forgotten what that is here in this age. I had a question.
Do you think this is for both of you? Do you think what commercial artist do you think can use this platform, like a Jay-Z or whoever, to make that change, who can speak up and can actually get people to listen?
Well, just before he says that, I don't know if there's a person that can necessarily do that, because you're asking someone to be Jesus. Can a person motivate other people to do that? Yeah, I think that they can, and I think that they have a lot of times. But I think what we miss is a lot. We're looking for one particular giant movement as opposed to them funneling out to thousands and thousands of people every day. But can an artist make that impact? Absolutely. Especially an artist that's very big. It just requires a person to be willing to make a self-sacrifice that's unheard of, because it's impossible to be a rock star and a revolutionary.
Right. And how do you feel? Who do you think, like, if you guys can name, if you guys don't want to drop somebody, you don't have to, but who do you think can, because I think this culture can make
it has to be wrapped up nicely too, right? So it has to be skills and the right image. Is there anyone you think that has that image that might make it easier to do that?
What you were doing, but I mean, if there's an artist that's that, like a Kendrick or somebody who can really just be like, could really stand up and create the change, like you said, like he wouldn't be the only person doing it.
As far as a mainstream artist, that would be the only one that I could even think would be remotely close to doing that.
Like a Kendrick?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you never know, because I think him obviously a very prominent figure.
Yeah.
But I think that in this case, you're talking about a person that makes the complete switch. So they don't have to be a person that's necessarily known just for being political in music or even having that much skills. They need to be just a person who's prominent, who said, I've decided to take this part of my life and change it. For example, Detroit Red, right? That was Malcolm X's old name. He wasn't the best thief. He wasn't the best hustler. He wasn't the best motherfucker that did what he did back then. He became one of the best at being a revolutionary thinker. So it wouldn't have to be so much a lyricist of an MC, right? It could
Just
be
someone that could see it through.
bruh. Imagine a person who you think is the most ignorant rapper in the world. Don't
21 Savage.
don't let it come out of my mouth. I'm just saying, think about the person. For the people at home, this is a question for the listeners.
Right.
Imagine the people at home. Think about who you think is the most ignorant rapper in the world, and about some horrible shit happening to that nigga that made him change his life and say, you know what? I'm giving this whole shit up. All this money, all this bullshit. It means nothing.
Be a
But
lot of risk.
that comes from calamity. That comes from tragedy. That comes from losing everything. Unfortunately, I'm going to keep it honest with you. That's usually the only way that I've seen human beings come together in time of calamity, in times of horror, in times of terror. Listen, we could be four of us in this room, a KKK member, Black Lives Matter activist, a fucking Nazi, and a Black Panther. We all sitting here. We happy, you know what I mean? To distrust each other and all this. You know, I don't like you. You don't like me. However, we don't like y'all for a lot of different reasons. And y'all don't like us. Let's give it 1,000. But the difference is this. If someone drops a spider the size of this table in the middle of us, that Klan nigga is going to turn to me and be like, yo, listen, brother, whatever problems we have, can we just kill the fucking spider before we get everybody else?
No doubt, yeah.
And the problem is that when we do that, and as human beings, it ends up that only certain people end up working their asses off to kill that spider, and everybody else takes advantage of the situation when that spider's about to be dead to tell niggas to get the fuck back.
The credit.
I had a question. How did this is jumping the subject too. How did you get out that song? Not how did you get it, but the song with you, Victor Vaughn, or MF Doom, the shit, Bloody Chain that you did a while ago on the Venomous Villain album. That song was hard. I want to know if you guys were in the studio together when you guys did that shit, or were you guys like separate?
Hell no, we wasn't in the studio together.
No?
Nah, it wasn't no crazy. It wasn't.
That song's hard, bro.
No. I'm gonna give you some backstory. It wasn't like that. He had moved. That's why it wasn't. Whatever. Obviously I was in basic Brook. I was where I wasn't. Nobody knew who I was at that time. Pretty much, other than the only record we had out at the time was. I had a single out, the Top of Food Chain, the original version. Put the Top of Food Chain remix on this volume 1. But yeah, well, at that time we were just pretty fresh. But I've known Doom for a long time. He was one of the big homies back then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Had a lot of mutual acquaintances, whatever have you. So we was always cool. He linked up with my man Israel from Insomniac magazine. Dude from the Bronx, you know what I mean? Another older brother from the Bronx, whatever. And I met him when I was like 10th, 11th grade, if not before that. You know, he was one of the first people that was like, "Oh, you're dope." Da 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 da. He used to give me little pointers and stuff. And he had a magazine called Insomniac, and he used to just always give me words of encouragement if he had something that he could use me for. You know, whatever. And then him and Doom started doing this record. And my name came up. But Doom was like, yeah, fucks with him. That's my man. Whatever.
That's tight.
You know, he was like, oh, well, I fucks with him too. All right, he's like, well, I got this joint. See if he want to jump on this. It was just like that. It wasn't even nothing. So they hit me up, you want to do this record for Doom? And I was like, yeah, fuck you mean, you know.
Dope.
But he was like, we already got the verse because he was already in Atlanta at the time. I mean, I wasn't that important to be flown in me when to do a verse.
Right. No, that's just dope. You were on the project though.
Yeah. So
can we expect
that's a dope project.
Anything from you soon?
Yeah, for sure. But hold on, let me finish. What happened though? So they sent me the verse.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm just gonna write. You know, obviously I'm gonna hear what he said and finish writing. He's telling me about this. They told me about the Dub L. Told me, the record's kind of ill. You know, that's what
you get your change act or some shit.
So I get the verse. So I go to my man. You know, I used to write on my rounds right on the spot. You know what I mean? So I went to my man. My man's college dorm in Jersey City. He's wrong. My man Majesty, rest in peace. My man C Spit. I mean his college dorm. So I get the verse, and for whatever reason, it only played like the last like 6 like bars of his verse. So all I heard was the last part about he kissed the girl, whatever. We know when he got called, when the phone call, and your girl got stabbed for the chain.
Right.
That's all I had, and I'm like, yo, fuck, this is what the fuck am I supposed to write about? Like, and Doom is weird, so I don't know. I don't know what because Doom could have started like. Doom is so ill with his storytelling. Like, it could have started. He could have been like, fucking plucking daisies somewhere,
and then ended up someone getting stabbed.
So I didn't know where I'm like.
It could be like a period piece. He's rapping about 1800 shit, and you're like, oh,
you know how he does. Right? So I was like, fuck, man, like. So I was like, yo. So I was trying to call them dudes, and nobody was fucking answering. I'm like, yo, fuck, man, like, shit. I'm like, yo, you know what? You just write this fucking verse. Yeah. So I just went
kept it neutral.
No, well, if you hear what
I wrote, it's like a story base.
It wasn't neutral at all.
Right.
But it was just like me saying, yo, fuck it. I got this little piece, and I painted the whole scenario.
A story, bro.
I painted the whole scenario from that little piece and made the fucking story. And I didn't even hear the first part of his verse.
Yeah, it was like a bloody chain, and the girl gets a chain like.
Yeah, so I just took that, and then I was just like, all right, well, you robbed all right, she got killed for a chain. You robbed from somebody. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, yo, fuck it. I'll bite the bullet. I'll be the dude that he robbed. Yeah. So I'm going to paint the scenario of how I came
like
to
your
the story.
Perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
You went Nate Dogg on it.
And it became, and it's funny. People ask me about that fucking record.
That song, that album actually is expensive. Like, if you try to buy that shit, that's expensive. It's like out of print, expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
That one and the other Doom. So that's dope that you're on an album that's highly valuable.
I'm on a few collector's items, man. I'm on Revolutionary Volume 1 and Volume 2.
No, those go for a lot of money too, bro.
You know what I'm saying? The motherfucking
those go for a lot of money too online.
Your first wax was the Industrial Revolution. That was the first wax, or the single. No, the first Immortal Technique single.
Was Industrial Revolution and
Volume 1.
Yeah. So okay. I said I know I was on his first.
Rest in peace, PH, man.
Yeah, well,
I had an opportunity to book PH for a battle. He came out and battled. I forgot who it was. We booked him at the Bay when we did Arsenal versus Mr. Fab. The day before, we had PH come out. He battled.
He battled on Cutter.
Yeah, he battled Cutter. Yeah, because we wanted to get him out here.
Shouts to Cutter, man.
Yeah, that was. I'm glad I was able to meet PH in person and to actually. He was really easy to work with. I'm glad I was able to experience.
Wait,
that.
Did you fly him out?
Yeah, we flew him. I think we flew him out. I don't know. Floss took care of that shit. So
that's
Floss
crazy.
Or maybe he did. I don't know what the business was, but I was just happy that
because PH, he was like a fake ass BA Baracus. He didn't like to fly too much.
Really?
So yeah, I'm trying to. Most of the places he ever battled, he would see. Rest in peace, my brother. I can tell a nice PH story. He used to always con us into fucking driving. Like, no, but it's gonna be a fun trip. I'm like, yo, my nigga, I know you 20 years, man. I'll meet you there, bro. Like, I'm good. Because he was just trying to use that because he didn't want to drive. He didn't want to drive by himself. So yeah, but we can have a road trip.
He flew.
I go to the fucking road trip. We go to the damn battle.
I think he flew out. I think he flew out here because he didn't drive. He came all the way to the Bay from New York.
I mean, he's flown a handful of times. I mean, he toured. Damn, that's one of my first people I knew that toured. He did Australia like in the late 90s or something shit.
Man.
So I mean, obviously he didn't get there by boat. He didn't do the what's the big one? He didn't do KRS. He went out there by boat and shit. I don't know how.
Wow,
that shit
by boat. Damn.
It takes like a month, right? It takes like a month, right?
takes like a week or two to go over the ocean.
Wow. So
That's crazy. But yeah, so like I know he didn't do all that shit. So I know that fucking PH flew to fucking Australia.
Yeah, but that Peruvian Cocaine, that was a big cut. So that was the first. You said the first single off the album.
Yeah. It was the B side of the first single off the record, and
such a good track.
it was actually produced by my brother Southpaw, and we all wrote it pretty
playing
much
at the
that
Barclays
day.
Center tonight. Hold on, Southpaw is at the Barclays.
He's at the Barclays Center now. He does like a lot of the background sound and like the Pro Tools, running everything for a lot of very big names now. But he still always produced stuff for me, and he produced a song or two, I think, for Penn. But he produced that record, and we basically just had everybody eating pizza, writing their verse, and then as soon as they were done, they would go downstairs. They got their role assigned to them, and they were told what they were supposed to write about, and they would spit the verse for me, and I would be like, all right,
Nice.
cool. And then I would say, if something had to be changed, or I would be like, this doesn't fit, I would just be, there were only one or two instances where I was like, this don't rock. And they would just be like, all right, what about this? And I'm like, perfect. So it was so simple to work with your friends back then. We wasn't worried about nothing. We were just, we were trying to get a couple $100 and perform in front of a few
With
people.
Tone Deaf, who's amazing.
And we all wrote that
Loved
shit.
any Tone
Hold up,
Deaf
and we
album.
all wrote those verses right there.
Right then and
On
there.
the spot.
None of those verses were like, oh, here, I got this.
Was that your
Now-
idea? The concept of the
Nah,
song?
yeah, it was my idea
That was so
and we
dope.
sat down and basically everybody, I wanted to be spontaneous, so everybody wrote their verse on like the back of a pizza paper plate and shit. Like everybody had that shit.
Yeah.
And then there are people that don't even rap no more that are on it, like Lou Cypher. Shout to him.
Lou Cypher, yeah.
The only time that I think we performed that with everybody there was Rocksteady, and shout to Rocksteady because I heard this is the last anniversary.
Yeah.
He was?
No, he wasn't there. Well, I think Lou wasn't there for the Rock the Bells one.
Oh,
But what I was going to say is, yeah, I heard that Rocksteady is having its last year.
This year.
So big shout out to
40th,
them.
right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's the
Shout out to
This is the
them.
40th anniversary, I think.
It's the 40th, yeah, 40th.
this
This
the last
week is the
one.
last one.
Yo, bro, it starts today.
Oh, so yeah,
Yeah, so
Shout
we're
out to
gonna
them.
miss this.
let me say, being some of my Peruvian code, let me say one thing, and then just do whatever fuck we do. Listen, man, I've heard this record explained a million times, and everybody had a particular role in the song, and they say I was the drug dealer. If you listen to the fucking first words of what I said, I was the one. Listen. Who's before me? Diabolic was no. Cypher was right. No. Tone Deaf was right before me, right?
No. Let's see. It goes
You, PH.
C-Rays.
No, he's last.
Oh.
Pumpkinhead. Then it was Balik.
Balik.
Then it goes.
Wait, how's Balik's verse start?
Yo, it don't come as a challenge.
I'm the son of the fathers. And then Tone.
Tone.
Then me.
You.
Right. Okay. So no, hold on.
Then Tone, you. Then
Cypher.
And then Wolf.
Yeah.
The nigga in jail.
So yeah, that's how it ended. All right. Listen. So Tone Deaf was before me, and Tone Deaf was the government official.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so why does everyone say drug dealer? I'm the one that the first. Okay, so the government official doesn't go to the fucking neighborhood doing the corner
That's
like,
true,
here,
that's true,
take
yeah.
these drugs and supply the fucking community. Like,
Well, they do, but not like that.
no, they don't. Not like, okay, I want you to see some government officials just on the corner like, hey, yo, fam. No.
Well, then it just don't
Right,
show.
right.
Thank you. The first line.
Drop it in. The air drop it
Yeah,
in.
the first line of my verse was, I don't work in the hood. Hit my connect, that's what's really good. And supply work to the hood. Like, I supply the fucking hood. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I wasn't the fucking drug dealer. And if you say that, obviously you didn't listen to what the fuck I said. But I notice half the time I do songs with this guy, they don't listen to what the fuck I say, but they just listen to what the fuck he said. So,
okay.
I guess it comes with the fucking territory. So,
you got anything else before we leave?
If you anything else you want to ask?
No. Where else? Hey, thank you guys for having us
do
over,
that.
man. We would truly appreciate that.
They were supposed to bring like 2 chicks per question.
Per question.
And I we're like negative
damn.
432 women now. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well, let me make a call real quick.
make a call, please.
Man, I'm gonna take you to the strip club, bro.
Listen.
All right, go ahead, Marathon.
Man, that's what it is. Thank you for tuning in. We had Immortal Technique, Poison Pen, Koncpet, Wake the Flock Up. I am Melathon, the Time God. And you guys have just witnessed the Time Godcast. Time!
Or